how did the overall film concept come into play?
So everything started when I think I was at Comic-Con with Rodo, my co-writer, and Evil Dead, and all the stuff I did since I'm very young. And we knew we wanted to do another movie, kind of in the realm of Evil Dead, but we didn't want to be like a straightforward horror movie. We wanted to be something more than that. And we were driving back from Comic-Con to Los Angeles, which I think what the story was going to be about. And we knew we wanted to tell a story about robbers. Like, we always love characters that have shady morals, and I think those characters made for way better endings because you never know how those movies should end. When characters are, when nobody's good, it's hard to know, who's gonna win, who deserves to die, who deserves to live. All those elements that makes for great stories. And so basically during the drive back, I think we came up with the idea of what if a few robbers gonna break into the blind man's house and try to take some money away. We took it to Sam Raimi as, a return for having given us a career in this business and giving us Evil Dead.
So how challenging is it to tell a story and keep audiences intrigued with what's going on when you really have one large set piece?
Yeah, and that's a good way to see it, actually. And I agree with you 100%. That's the way I see the movie, as one large set piece. Like it's almost real time, right? There's no time jumps. I mean, it's a few here and there, but mostly the whole movie is real time. I mean, it has challenges and it has advantages, right? You just have to keep bringing the ideas, right? And I think if you do your job correctly in the first 20 minutes of the movie, then usually you'll have enough prime material, like how you call it, like just raw stuff there to churn into a good meal. Think about it, in the first 20 minutes. We give you a house, we give you a backstory for the blind man, we know there's a dog, we know there's 3 kids, and then everything that happens in the story, you cannot say that just came out of nowhere. Everything came out of the elements. Even that first shot when we enter the house, we show you a hammer, we show you a glass, we show you a door that is locked. So you give you all the pieces of the game, and then all we have to do is basically push the first domino and just see the whole thing unleash, right?
Coinciding with that, you've got really 90% of the film features 4 actors. How important was it finding the chemistry and finding the right group that had that chemistry in order to keep you emotionally involved?
That I think is always a mix of 50% script, 50% actors, right? I mean, if the story's not there, you won't empathize with anybody. Doesn't matter how much you love them. Right cast is always a mystery how it comes about, and casting is a big part of the director's job, and I was happy, to make it happen, and I'm happy that we got to get a nice group of people together, and particularly the biggest find, I think, was the blind man, right? That was crucial to have a guy that would be 65, but at the same time you will never advise the kids to jump on him, because I don't think nobody goes like, oh, you should just sneak on him and choke him.
Did you guys shoot chronologically throughout the story? I know that sometimes with blood spatter and all that.
It was all over the place. I mean, it was a perfect plan. I mean, it worked great, but it was, in the order, it was just, we started, I think we started we started with the final scene, the car. We started with that, and then we did all the cellar stuff, because that was the first set that was ready. We were still building stages while you're shooting usually. And then we did everything that was on the top floor, and then the last few days of shooting was the main floor.
The characters that you guys developed were intelligent. A lot of times when you see robbers like this, they're either down on their luck, they're scraping by, don't really have the education to support what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's something that is said about characters all the time, which is very interesting, that it's like you want to see 3-dimensional characters, right? You probably heard that before, and most people wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what does that really means. And there's one description that I love about it, that is the third dimension basically is the contradiction. It's that thing that doesn't fit, right? Like a good character is, the first and second dimension is just the prototype, that stereotype, the one that you've seen in every movie. So what's the third dimension? Usually the contradiction, that thing that is weird. In our movie is basically, is exactly what you were saying. You have this kid that is robbing houses, but at the same time he has an education. He's not the guy that usually you see doing those things. And that gives that third dimension, because it's a contradiction in that character.
Easily my favorite scene out of the film is whenever they're in that dark basement and he turns off the lights. The pupils were huge. They really looked like there was a state of not really knowing what was going on. Did you guys turn off all the lights?
It was a combination of techniques, but basically what ended up working super well, and if anybody wants to try on their movies, they should do that. Because what's worked for us pretty well was that we had a light coming from the camera, and that creates that kind of night vision look. Then basically in post you remove the contrast and stuff like that just to make the look. But the important part was that we don't want the actors to be fake in the blindness too much, so they had contact lenses that create that dilated pupil, but those contact lenses were blinding them, so they were actually pretty much blind during those scenes. So that's what really sells the effect, and of course amazing performances from them in those moments. But it was basically, okay, I need light, but I need them to be in the darkness, so well I have the light, but I put them in the darkness by blinding them.